Here, let's find out what's in them. Let's see. Looks like more error notes. A little bit higher denom, it looks like 10s, 20s. Let's see. Get adjusted here. Little partial offset printing error. Back to face. It's pretty light, but you could still see the transition. You have a board break error here, top left. That's pretty cool. Misalignment error on the back. Back to face. Partial back to face. Face to back. Goodness. Here's another. This is a partial matte offset printing error. If you look here, that's the offset. Looks like it goes a little bit transitional. Just grows darker and darker and darker. So somebody found these and they just went ahead and saved them. Here's a neat one, gutter fold on a 50 through the portrait. There's a 50 and 64 with face to back. Just a little bit of ink smear error. Here's 100 with face to back. It's a pretty decent note. Good size ink smear error on a 20. Nice bold green inks. Let's see what else we have. Another offset printing error. Here's a misalignment error. The paper is just a smidge paper toned also. So here's a missing overprint error. District unknown. It does have a small edge tear, so they call it small paper scrapes. I don't know what that means, but I can assure you that the paper's fine, but it has a little bit of an edge split right there. So here's a better misalignment. You can see how the start of the next note is clear to the right. Now sometimes you see these notes for sale on eBay and they're huge, you know, they're like this. And the serials start with 99. Those have been cut from a sheet and are being they're pretending to be errors. They're not really errors. So you always need to look at your serial number range when deciding if your note's truly an error or not. Bigger gutter folds. Overprint misalignment with printed fold. You can see part of the seal on the back. So that's pretty cool. 65Q. Here's another. They called this one a cutting error. And that's because the note is fully framed and it's just retained a fragment. So it has an extra long left margin. Bigger ink smear error on the back. Pretty long. Here's a offset printing error, face to back. I really like offset printing errors. They boggle my mind, especially when they're like this. You know, that's pretty bold. Here's an ink smear through the portrait. Gutter fold. Here's a misalignment error. Here's a gutter fold on a star with almost a fancy serial number. Here's a really fun note. Multiple gutter folds. 1, 2, 3, 4 gutter folds. Does have some mild staining and minor ink, but it's a pretty fun note. Offset printing error again. Here's an ink smear. Offset printing error. Another ink smear. Here's a gutter fold. Goes through the serial number on a Minneapolis note. Here's a partial offset printing error. There's another partial offset printing error. This one's pretty neat because you could see if we can get really focus in on this. You can see the text is all backwards. See that? That's pretty cool. This one is a cutting error with minor misalignment. I'm assuming when we flip this over, yep, you can see the alignment tabs. Gutter fold on a star note. The face looks normal, but let's see what the back looks like. Gutter fold right through the R. There, if you tip it just right, you see the gutter fold there through the serial. Here's another misalignment note. 64Q, 63Q, consecutive. Here's a cool gutter fold right through the seal, splits the seal. Here's a cutting error. Sometimes people refer to these as butterfly fold over errors, and they're still just a cutting error. Here is a cutting error with the tab. It has a sheet alignment on it as well, so that's pretty neat. 58 EPQ on a 1950E series, so it's a very good series for a note. Here's a really nice printed fold over error for 100. That was the first box. What's your guys' favorite errors? I really like huge foldovers. I really like bold offset printing errors. Multiple printing errors are really neat too. They're just very expensive. They're not, I want to say they're not in reach for an average collector. I think the average collector could afford them. They just don't come up often enough to really, you know, if you could buy two or three a year, you know, at an auction, that would be, you know, or even from a dealer, that would be phenomenal. I would say if you were, you know, buying off of eBay and going to shows and really looking for, you know, trying to track down unique error notes, you know, foldovers, printed folds, massive gutter folds, things of that nature, in my opinion, is more bang for the buck. you can get some pretty obscure errors for very reasonable. So here's a case where there's a note in here that has not been holdered. So we're just going to pull that one out and look at it right away. And it does say the note has been altered in some way. Back to face printing. This doesn't mean that the notes counterfeit. What they are saying is if you look at it, it's more of a matte offset printing. I think partially what they're saying is they can't figure out how this happened, and they are having a hard time confirming it being an error. As far as an alteration of the note's crispy unk, so I wouldn't think I don't see anything with it that leads me to believe that it's not an error. I will definitely get the note checked out by somebody that has a bit more experience with matte offset printing errors. Usually matte offset printing errors have a little bit different look than offset printing errors. So this is the first for me to have one of these come back like this. They're saying it's a matte offset printing error, but they're saying that it's altered. So I'll send it off. We'll let somebody who deals with this stuff every day look at it. It's on a 69A, so it's a pretty decent series for notes. So it's definitely something I want to get looked at. I don't want to just give up on it. Here's an Atlanta 81A Atlanta ink smear. Another ink smear 10. Here's a fun one. Big bold ink smear. Now these are super reasonable for what they are, for the size of the air, the color, the grade. You know, anybody can, not, I wouldn't say anybody, but the average collector can afford one of, you know, different types of ink smears. It's a very entry collectible error that can get you started in collecting error notes. You can put together so many different types of examples. Here's a great big ink smear. Here's a misaligned printing error. You can see where they cut the side of the note right off. Another ink smear. Another ink smear. Ink smear is pretty common. Ink smear. Here's a printed fold over error. If you notice the bottom left corner is not printed. That would have been folded at one time, and you can actually see the corner of the top of the note. So it's a pretty unique one. It's on a little bit better series too, 1950B. Some of these notes, they don't exist in, there's really no population for them in the 1950 series, and the ones that are populated are error notes. So sometimes if you're trying to do a district set, you have to buy an error note just to get the district. There's an offset printing error. Here's a misalignment error on a $5 silver shirt. Lots of extra selvage. Offset printing error. Offset printing error. Face to back offset printing error. Ink smear. Little minor partial offset printing error. Here is a misalignment error with a gutter fold. So you have the misalignment plus the gutter fold. See if we show you guys. Gutter fold all the way through the note plus a misalignment. So that's a dual error. A little bit of an ink smear. They call this one a solvent smear. See how the color is a little bit different and it's a little bit bled? It almost looks like it wiped across the note too. If you had the note in hand, the camera doesn't really pick it up, but there's actually a little bit of a dark hue all the way through the portrait. Here's a good sized gutter fold error. Partial offset printing. There's a little run of these. This one they didn't distinguish to be an error. So, oh, I know why. So these are the sequential notes, so you can see it's a bookend. So they're sequential, so it's error, no error, error. So it's pretty unique. You don't normally the error sticks and you see the error, especially on offset printing error, you would see it get continuous through the serial numbers. So it usually would start lighter, get darker, then fade out, and then would disappear. Here's another ink smear error. Another offset printing error. Here's a misalignment error. Missing a good portion of the bottom of the note. Another offset printing error. That's pretty fun. Looks like a dinosaur, the ink smear error. Partial offset printing errors. Here's a pretty good sized gutter fold error. Here's a face to back, partial down here in the corner. Good sized gutter fold. Overprint misalignment. Oh yeah, you can see the seals way left. Here's a dual gutter fold note. Gutter fold, gutter fold. Here's an ink smear error. Probably tougher to see. Little ticky green spots. These are the ones that baffle me. Is when you get just that little strip. See that? That just baffles me that happens. Here's a partial missing overprint. I'm not sure if this is partial missing overprint or if this is obstructed printing. I would probably say this is more obstruction because it's missing the black features as well. Here's a dual gutter fold right through Lincoln. See, this is what I mean when I'm talking about bold offset printing error. It just boggles my mind, you know. And then here's a neat little cutting error with the extra tab. And we have one more box, and then I have so much to do, not enough time. Box C of C. In here, more errors. Yay for errors. Okay, on this one it says there's a minor ink smear error, and it's right there. It does have some foxing spots on it, but take it as they are. Ink smear error. Another ink smear. Here's a good size ink smear. This is the $150 kind of ink smear error. Another ink smear error. Overprint misalignment. This one's pretty egregious. Look at how the serial's up here. The seal. Nice looking offset printing error. Here's another overprint misalignment that's pretty out there. This note has a BEP rejection sticker on it, but it doesn't have an error, so it's pretty neat. They still gave it a 64 EPQ. There was something with the printing run they didn't like, so they went ahead and stickered it, and then somehow, most likely, somebody came over and went, there's nothing wrong with these notes, and they sent them out and they left the sticker right on there, is what I'm assuming. Face to back. Here's a really cool note. This note's actually sold already. There is a obstructed printing error right over the eye. Of Abraham Lincoln. And it's, of course, it's AU58, which grade doesn't really matter. It's more of the error. Overprint misalignment on a 2. Here's another overprint misalignment on a 2. And then another misalignment error on a 2, but this one's in Gem 66Q. You can actually see part of the next note there. Here's another overprint misalignment on a 2. $2 errors are super tough. I only get maybe a handful a year for inventory. They usually sell right away. There's some really serious $2 bill collectors out there, especially when it comes to errors. Ink smear error on a 2. More ink smear errors on a 2. Here's an ink smear error on a canceled bicentennial $2 stamp. Look at look at that label. The label is so busy. It was stamped in Lexington, Kentucky. Another ink smear error on a 2. This one's on Atlanta. They didn't find an error with this note. Does it go with a run of errors? It does not. Like I said, this was one collection and I just sent it in and said, sure. So they didn't understand the error, but the date is wrong on the stamp. They stamped it 1967. It's supposed to be 1976. So I might actually send this one back and see if they can change this, because that's the actual error. There's a 28G $2 legal tender with a big ink smear. Gutter fold on a 1953 series. Here's a gutter fold on a 63Q for a legal tender, so that's pretty cool. 53A with a gutter, uncirculated with a gutter fold. There's a minor offset printing on a 53A2 legal tender. Tough notes. Here's a minor ink smear error on a 53A. It's a good, decent sized gutter fold on a 28A. So not only is the series incredibly difficult to collect, now you have an error note on a 28A. This note is actually got an overprinting of the second printing. If you look at the portrait between the two notes, basically VF, look how much darker. They didn't want to call it an error, but it's without a doubt it's over inked and it's very bold. It stands out. Here's a minor overprint misalignment error. You can see the serial numbers are dropped down into some of the lettering. Here's a minor guide roller offset error. If you look at the note right below the serial number, see the faint seal from another note? If you look at the seal, it also looks like it's either New York or Cleveland district, because it's not an H. So that's pretty neat. Like this one here looks like an H, but the other one was without a doubt a D or a B. So there's a bunch of these. There was like a half a pack of minor guide roller offset errors. It's not a common error. It's not an error that I've had a lot of. It's not an error that I've seen a lot of. So that's kind of what these are. I might try to auction a few just to kind of gauge interest. Some of them are a little bit more bold than others, but it's definitely there. It's not something that you can say you see a lot. I showed a couple of the error guys at the fun show, and they got really excited because, like me, they don't see this error ever. Here's a 2 with a cutting error with the extra tab. And then here's another 2 with a cutting error with, they call it selvage. So That's it for today, guys. Just wanted to run through another quick boxes of some air notes. I have 4 more boxes over here. Plus, without a doubt, I have another 3 or 4 more orders coming back. So, with that, I hope you all have a great day and stay safe out there, and share with me the errors you like. Share, you know, tell me what interests you. There's lots of fantastic errors out there that are very budget friendly if you wanted to assemble a error collection. So hope you all have a great day.